I'm Tabby.
And I'm Caitlin, and today we will be discussing morally gray characters and anti-heroes in literature.
Prior to this, I wasn't really sure what the difference between the two were. I figured any anti-hero was probably also morally gray, which may still be
Which I guess
true.
you could say, but I feel like not every morally gray character is an anti-hero.
True. So, the definition of morally gray: characters whose behavior discourages readers from identifying them as purely evil or purely good. So they're just right in between. We talk a lot about black and white characters. A lot of the time, you see those more in like judicious roles. But then you have the morally gray characters who I think they deep down maybe want to be good, but they just have bad tendencies, and that's okay.
Or like the cards that have been dealt to them in life like prevent them from being 100% good.
Or maybe like what they think they're doing is good, and it's maybe not perceived by everyone else like that.
Maybe it just goes against like the social norms, but you could argue that ethically the social norms are bad,
True. Whereas an anti-hero is a protagonist who lacks qualities portrayed in a traditional hero, like morality, courage, and often embodies behaviors you'd expect in a villain. So an anti-hero all around lacks morals in general. So they maybe lean more towards bad.
Mm-hmm.
This one's interesting.
It is, because it's like you can still argue that what they're doing is heroic to someone.
The way I justify it in my head is that an anti-hero does things that superficially look good, but it is a self-serving act.
Or what they do could superficially look bad still, but it could be good when you pull back the layers.
Sure.
You know
Which
what I mean?
kind of falls into morally gray.
It does, because again, like all anti-heroes are definitely morally gray, I would
Sure.
say.
But some of them are a little
we
more
use the
darker
example of
gray.
Dexter. Like Dexter is an anti-hero because what he's doing is objectively bad, but whenever you start to peel back the layers, it has almost a heroic quality to it, that he is killing people who hurt others.
Kind of like what we see with Jake and Lana in the Mindfuck series. They are most certainly anti-heroes. So
Yes.
while what they are doing may seem heroic to some people, I mean, they're getting rid of, rapists and murderers. However, they are also murderers, and they're doing it in revenge, not because they want the world to be a better place.
Yeah. Which, like, again,
but the outcome is that the world is a better place. So it's an anti-hero.
So yeah, do you want to start by like kind of going through the morally gray characters?
Yeah, so we have a few morally gray characters. So our first one is Evelyn Hugo, who she's not a bad person. She's certainly maybe not the best person, but she doesn't necessarily mean wrong by anybody.
Yeah.
She thinks what she is doing is for love.
Yeah. 100%. Especially, I would say like the most heinous thing that she did was to cover up for Harry whenever Harry accidentally kills himself and his lover in a drunk driving incident, to cover for him and make it look as if he was not the driver.
Right. But she did it from a good place.
Immoral thing she did. Yeah, she did it because she loved him and she didn't want him to have a bad name, especially in death, because he was a celebrity. Does that make it right? No.
No, but I don't think she meant anything bad by it.
No, she didn't do it with the intention of
she wasn't being malicious.
Yeah. The thing was, she did it with an intention of trying to protect someone that she cared about. But she did end up harming, the lover and herself and everyone else involved. Yeah. It definitely didn't pay off.
No. A pretty popular one is Rhysand. He's probably one of the biggest morally gray characters you will find.
Yes. And honestly, we love him. So yeah, Rhysand, we could talk forever about the things that he does under the mountain, giving Feyre the wine so that she's drugged and like having her dance and kind of kind of humiliate herself. But then you could argue that what he's doing is to help, like, kind of protect her mind in that setting. She was slowly going crazy. And so his reasoning was that he wanted to try and, like, kind of protect what little sanity she had left.
But it was also kind of self-serving because he really wanted to get out from the under the mountain.
Yes,
Is he an anti-hero? No.
I don't think so.
I feel like perhaps in the first book he could have been perceived as an anti-hero, but after we get to know him a little bit more in the second book, he's definitely just like solidly morally gray. Does that make sense?
I think it does, but then it's like, okay, but what about Tamlin? Because, like,
I have Tamlin as an anti-hero.
I know,
I
but, like,
anti-hero. He is like not morally gray.
Could have been perceived as
everything Tamlin did came from a very selfish place, but it benefited everybody because if he hadn't found Feyre and if he hadn't brought her to Prithian, if she hadn't gone onto the mountain, they all would have been enslaved still. And so it's like it did end up being a good thing because he gave her all the tools she needed to succeed, but it came from a very selfish, self-serving place.
That's fair. So I feel like that's kind of the distinction there.
And it's like after that too, like he kind of just threw her aside and used it like under the guise of giving her, you know, the easygoing life she's always wanted, when in fact it just helped him keep tabs on her until he needed her. Like he thought he was doing a good thing.
Yeah, because like that's how we interpret it. Because especially because we only have like things from Feyre's perspective in those books. But it's like we don't really know what he was thinking because he never does explain himself.
You're right. We don't have any. He could have been doing it from a place of love, and I'm sure he was.
Which is, yeah, because like alternatively, Rhysand, we definitely know what he was thinking because he tells us, like he explains.
Right. So maybe they're both anti-heroes in the first book, and after that, it's just more of a morally gray.
It is really a tough thing because also I don't want to defend Tamlin. There are people who take it a little too far, I think, because they're like, if you say a single like potentially like redeeming thing about Tamlin, they're like, you're defending an abuser. And I'm like, that's a little far because
he didn't hit her or anything. Like he wasn't verbally abusive to her.
Definitely lost his temper. And I would say that he did things that were
he did harm her. I take that back. He did blow up and it did cause harm to her. So that is abusive.
He did. And I am not defending that, but like as far as like people saying that like there's not a single redeemable quality about him, I do not think that's true. I
certainly don't think he meant to, though.
No, he did not mean to. He just needs some fucking anger.
Yeah, it's like he just has he's not a good person sometimes.
He's just a child.
They weren't meant to be together.
Yeah.
That's such a touchy subject. I would never want to like ever
I do think
defend an abuser, but
take it a little too far. I don't think that Tamlin is explicitly an abuser. I don't think that's his personality. I think that he did some things that were harmful. And I think that
I do think he's
to apologize for them, and he has
not. Did no, he never actually apologized.
Yeah.
Maybe he will.
And until that day that he does apologize and truly show remorse for his actions, I will not defend any of those things that he did. But again, I digress. I do think he has some redeemable qualities. Back to morally gray people, though. Adis from Crescent City.
From what we know, he is simply just a morally gray character.
Yes, and I believe that that's the truth because there are so many times that he would have had the opportunity to harm Bryce if that's what his intention was. But I don't think that's his intention. I think that he
has the potential to be an anti-hero.
Yeah, he does.
We just don't know enough.
Prince of Hell, so yeah, he does.
We just don't know enough about him to make that decision. The Darkling. So I actually went back and forth on this one.
Same. We actually have moved him back and forth.
Yeah, we've moved him at least 8 times because I really do think he is I kind of think he's an anti-hero,
I
but
know we keep going back and forth, but like, yeah. So let's just say we could put him on either list, but I am leaning a little more anti-hero
I am too.
because what he does, like, he thinks that what he's doing is right and that he's defending his people in the Grisha.
I
But
think what he's doing is right. I think protecting the Grisha is right. And I think they are, second class citizens in the eyes of that universe.
that's true.
However, the way he goes about it and his morals are not there.
Yes,
So
because he
I think that does
also is
classify him as an
manipulative.
anti-hero.
Yeah. And like his attempts to manipulate Alina backfire because the thing is, again, I really think he could have had a redemption arc. I truly believe that it was a wasted like character. Like he had so
Same.
much potential because he wasn't 100% evil. I just really think he went about it the wrong way
Because
because if
to
he
the
had been
Grisha
more
who followed
genuine,
him, he was a hero.
yeah, he was. And like even to Alina, like she trusted him and she could see the good in him, but he wasn't being honest with her. And I think if he had been honest from her,
And
then they
just
could have like
explain what he was
formed a
trying to do.
partnership. But
Because
he instead tried to manipulate her.
I don't think Alina was fully 100% a good person either. Like,
No.
I feel like if he'd been like, hey, we're treated not fairly, you've experienced this firsthand, being in an orphanage, having to be stripped away from your family and whatever, like, how would you feel about trying to right these wrongs? She'd be like, yeah, like, let me balance out your darkness a little bit and we can
Yeah.
find like a common ground here.
Which is fair that he's a lot more jaded because like he's been around for a long fucking time.
Also, he had the worst childhood, and his mom actually sucks.
Yeah. She's a bitch. Should he have
Barbara
blinded her?
deserved
Probably not.
everything she got. No, and
Um,
that's why he's an anti-hero.
exactly.
Tobias, Dom, and Sean. Tobias, more than anything, is morally gray.
Yes, I think morally gray because I don't think there's anything about them that people would be like, no, I'm not going to stand by you when you do that.
Yeah, because it's like
They
they're
might be
taking
like,
down large corporations that expose
yeah.
like
And
the
they were
underclass
like,
people.
they will break a lot of laws to do that, and they will be sneaky and conniving to do that. But ultimately,
But
I
I
think
mean,
that
they're
people
not
agree
doing
with them.
anything bad.
Yeah.
Like they're helping
They
underprivileged
are
people.
willing to do things if
They do
things go
bad things.
wrong.
That's not true. They are doing bad things
Because, like,
for
let's
the sake
say
of
they get into
goodness.
a gunfight. Will they kill someone to make it out alive? Yeah,
They
they
certainly
will.
did kill people.
They
Like,
did and they do. And they'll
yeah,
do it again.
morally gray. They're not good or bad,
Morally gray.
for
Agreed.
sure.
The Maid
Uh,
series men.
they're
Um,
morally gray.
morally gray. I
They're
do
not
feel like,
anti-heroes.
yeah, it's very like I think of like Ronan specifically.
He
And
has a goodness in him
I don't know. I
that
feel like you could almost argue anti-hero because like the worst villain ends up being her father in the book.
right.
So it's like he's just
He's
like,
still not a good person though.
no, but I don't think anti-heroes are good people.
I don't think he's not really doing anything just for like out of the goodness of his heart, except when it comes to what's her face? I can't remember her name. Anyway, so I don't think he's an anti-hero. I think he's just morally gray. He just does
Yeah.
what he wants, and like it's like his own type of justice system. Like he doles out justice as he sees fit, type
Yeah.
thing.
Which
Could
I
be anti-hero.
don't know because like he does protect I can't remember the
I
character's
cannot
name,
remember her name to save my
but that
life.
girl whose father abused her and stuff, he like literally goes out of his way to protect her.
Mila?
No, I'm not thinking of the main character. I'm thinking of the girl that was like working at as a server and
Oh
like
yeah.
poison in Mila's tea because her father and brothers abused
Yeah.
her. And he like goes out of his way to protect her and like avenge her.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It is tough. It is so hard to make a true distinction between them sometimes.
Yeah, basically what we're trying to do is just define the two, because I feel like some are most certainly anti-heroes and some are, strictly morally gray.
Yeah, some are very obvious.
Castile, 100%. See, I don't know. Is he an anti-hero?
I don't know. I haven't finished reading all of those books, though, to be fair.
Okay.
He's certainly morally gray, but is he also an anti-hero is kind of the question.
No, he's morally gray. Like the whole first book, he, made Poppy trust him. Spoilers, by the way. He made Poppy trust him and like build a relationship with her so that it would be easier to get her away from everyone else and back to that's self-serving.
It is.
But it was for the sake of saving his people, which they would deem him a hero for.
Yeah.
But to everyone else, he's the bad guy.
Hey guys, so I got news for you. This is impossible.
Hey, we actually don't know anything. There might not be any distinction between them.
I mean, I really feel like if we could say that they're both, I think that maybe they go in the anti-hero column. Because morally gray to me, if they're strictly morally gray, I think it'll be obvious that they're not an anti-hero. You know what I mean?
Like Evelyn Hugo is definitely just morally gray. She's not a hero. And she is just morally gray.
Yeah, that one's very obvious to us. Same with like, I don't know. It feels like that's the only obvious one up there. Because Rhysand, you could argue he's also an anti-hero because for the same reasons that he was protecting Valaris.
Yeah.
Like what you were thinking for Castile.
So anyway, I think all anti-heroes are morally gray. I feel like there's maybe only a handful of people who are just morally gray but not heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is such an interesting topic that like now that we're talking through it, it's a lot more
so like I can give you two specific examples of actual anti-heroes without a doubt, a shadow of my mind. Zaid from Haunting Adeline. That is an anti-hero.
Yes.
No questions, no doubts about it.
100% agreed.
Jay Gatsby. I don't know. Now I'm kind of rethinking, like, he might just be like, he's not a hero. He didn't really do anything. He was a smuggler.
I think Jay Gatsby is morally gray.
I think that's just morally gray.
I think so too, because he's not doing anything that's like purely good or purely bad. He just is doing some questionable things and he's doing some things that are like chill and fine.
But it's for the sake of love. It's not necessarily to like save anybody.
Yeah, I think he's morally gray.
It's just a morally gray person.
For me, another obvious anti-hero besides Zaid is Cal Anderson.
Is he a hero?
I do think so because we have to look at it from the point of the world that he is in is full of bad people. So like the people.
But he is also a bad person. Like he is fully aware that he is a bad person.
I know that, but like he's killing the bad people that quote unquote need to be killed.
But he also likes doing that.
So does Dexter.
Yeah.
So does Lana. To me, he is an anti-hero because he does things to like protect people that he cares about. And to me, that solidifies that they're not like 100% a villain.
Yeah.
If they are able to do something in the name of protecting someone that they love or something, like, I think that negates them being able to be classified 100% as a villain. Because to me, a villain is someone that like cannot love, cannot empathize.
Yeah.
Only does things to serve themselves.
Now I'm rethinking Severus Snape on here.
I was thinking Severus Snape
is just morally gray. I don't think he's a hero.
I don't think so either because
he was just doing whatever worked best for him.
Yeah, he was just like saving his hide.
It's like the only reason he helped Harry was because of his connection to Lily.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if he actually believed in Dumbledore's plan. I mean, he certainly didn't do anything except for give some secrets that made zero difference to anybody ever. I feel like he's just morally gray.
I think he's morally gray too.
I don't think he's an anti-hero.
Yeah, I agree. And then lastly, the last person that I would argue is an anti-hero is Aelin. Specifically, spoilers for Throne of Glass. If you guys don't want to listen, spoilers for all these
We
books.
haven't covered any of
We haven't
these.
covered Throne of Glass yet. So yeah, spoilers. Aelin, when she was Selena Sardothian, specifically was an assassin. So was she doing that for any like better purpose? Not necessarily. She was just kind of doing it to survive. However, at the point that she becomes Aelin, to me, that's when she becomes an anti-hero. Not becomes Aelin, but like starts
When
like
she embraces.
fulfilling her destiny, basically.
Because,
To
I mean, she's certainly not like, she's definitely morally gray.
yes, she is morally gray as
100%.
well. I would just argue that she's an
She is, no,
anti-hero
I'd say
because
she's an anti-hero.
she is 100% willing to kill
Whoever.
to like, serve this purpose. And
Some would
eventually
say
her
she
purpose
even
becomes
enjoys it.
some might say she eventually like her purpose becomes like no longer self-serving though, because she is now fighting to like
Right.
restore her land and take things back from the evil king. So it's like, yes, she is most certainly morally gray, but I think she also,
And I think that's the biggest difference between her and Rhysand, maybe, is that like he doesn't particularly, I think, enjoy like
not
making
at
people
all.
suffer.
I think he hates it.
Whereas like I think she's like, yeah, if that's what it takes, for sure.
I think, yeah, Aelin likes it and Rhysand doesn't. So
Yeah, I
Rhysand
think
is
that's probably the
only morally
big
gray.
difference here. I think Rhysand probably has a little more of a conscience than Aelin does.
Yeah, I agree. Because he's like, yes, I will do this thing to survive, but I will not like it. And
Yeah.
Aelin is like, I
Yeah,
kind of
sign
dig
me up.
it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Wow.
that's the difference.
What a fruitful discussion.
So, in conclusion, we actually don't know the difference. And if you do, please help.
Could you guys tell that we were struggling with this? I just feel like there's a very blurry line between the two.
Because all anti-heroes are morally gray, but not all morally gray people are anti-heroes. And that's just that. That's all there is. I was gonna say something about squares and rectangles, but I forgot which way was which.
All
squares are
squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are.
See, but as I was saying, I'm like, that sounds like a lie.
Two truths and a lie. You guys tell us which is which.
So
wow.
there's that.
We're gonna quit showcasing how stupid we are.
My mom's a math teacher.
Her mom is a math teacher. I took math from her mom, but it was not geometry in my defense. Anyway, I promise
if you want to ignore this whole episode,
we're educated young ladies. Join us next week as we wrap up our discussion of the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. We'll be covering the 4th and 5th novellas.
And then the week after that, we're going to be doing a mini-sode where we're going over our Hermione fanfic. So you do still have plenty of time to send your favorite ones in so we can read them.
Please give us all of the recommendations you can think of. We love the Hermione fantasy. They belong together. Please go ahead and get started on the 4th and 5th novella. We'll talk to you next week. And as always,
let's get lit.